today is called How to Build and Maintain Mental Strength. Since we're going to get into a little bit of fluffy content, I just want to point out that what you're looking for here to get a positive return on your investment of your time, because your time is extremely valuable, is you're looking for one nugget. One nugget that you can take with you and incorporate into how you see the world, how you operate, into your daily routine. Best case, you might get 3 nuggets, 3 things that you take with you, but at a minimum, you're looking for one. And my philosophy is whenever I read a book, whenever I attend a training session, you're looking for that one. So we might talk about some stuff that you either don't need to know and you're already doing. We might mention some stuff that you completely disagree with, but you're just looking for that one nugget. I'm pretty confident that there's something in here for you. Now, the reason why we're talking about how to build and maintain mental strength, and I guess the reason why you've registered for this webinar and you're taking time out of your day to be here with us, is that selling can be like riding a roller coaster. There's lots of highs. Hopefully there's lots of highs, right? If there aren't a lot of highs, you might want to attend some of our other webinars. But even when you're doing everything correctly and even when you are having success, there are some lows. And that's just part of selling. And so it's really important to either minimize the lows or at least to know how to deal with the lows in terms of having mental strength. And that's really what we're going to show you here today. If you don't have an approach for dealing with the lows, that can have an impact on you. And one thing that can do is that can create a level of anxiety. I mean, it's not a big surprise that when something goes wrong, when you get a no, when you lose a deal, when someone's not nice to you, I mean, it's a tough world out there, right? When you deal with those situations, and by the way, I mean, being a salesperson is like being a batter in a baseball game where a batter is going to strike out and fail more than they're going to succeed. Even the most successful, an incredibly effective, successful batter in baseball might get on base. I mean, I'm not a baseball fan or expert, but let's say and a very effective baseball player will get on base 30 to 40% of the time. And so they're failing more than they're succeeding, and sales is like that. So if you don't have a way to really deal with that mentally and have strong mental strength, you're going to operate every day with a level of anxiety and frustration. And when that happens, you'll be in a place where you might not be real happy and enjoy what you do every day. Sure, the highs and the wins are easy to enjoy. But if you don't know how to deal with the lows, you're not going to be completely happy unless you're just successful all the time, which could be the case. But at some point you're gonna face some downs and some deals lost. But if you don't enjoy what you're doing every day, that could impact how much activity and effort you put in. So if you're kind of getting burnt out, if you're discouraged, you might not be picking up the phone as much as you should and putting in that extra activity. You might find an excuse to not go to that networking event that you should probably go to. And if you're not putting in the activity level that you should, then you might not be performing as well as you could. And if you don't perform as well as you could, you might not be making as much money as you would like. And this could impact how long you stay at the job that you're at. If you're experiencing all these things, whether it's money or unhappiness or anxiety, that you might proactively look for a reason to go change jobs, hoping that things will be different at the new company, right? You're unhappy, so you take a new job, and the reason why you're unhappy is because you might not have had the mental strength to either deal with the lows or the mental strength to perform well through the lows. And then you change jobs, and you hope that things are going to change, but you don't solve that root problem. And then when you change jobs, either because you look for a new job or you got let go and had to find a new job, you find that you're experiencing the same thing. You're unhappy again or you're having anxiety again, and you're not having as much success as you should be having again. So some of the things we're going to talk about here today deal at the root cause of that, and they give you that mental strength to impact, to basically reverse all these things. And what that can lead to is, of course, success, and you're going to have those highs, but you're either going to be able to be strong enough to plow through the lows, or your lows aren't going to be as low. And I mentioned that this is going to be a bit fluffy of content, but it's not all. We will give you exact things that you can do and work on, so don't worry about that. And it starts with, we're going to go through 4 steps, by the way, here today. And step 1 is to decrease self-doubt. And maybe some of the people here have extreme confidence and don't have any self-doubt. But you know what the thing is that when you experience those lows, it can be easy to doubt yourself. And a low could be you lose a deal. A low could be you can't get a meeting. A low could be you miss your target. You get rejected on a cold call. Someone is just completely rude to you when you're trying to sell. You're not successful. So when you experience any of those, it is very reasonable to experience some self-doubt. You start to think, wow, can I do this? Or, I'm not very good at this. Or did I choose the right profession? And we need to resolve that before we can do anything else. And we're going to talk about, of course, some other stuff that you build on top of this, but this is going to be a very important thing to start with. And I'm going to go through a couple sales myths, and I want to diffuse these to help you resolve any self-doubt that you might have. And I call these sales myths. I mean, maybe you've thought this, maybe you haven't, but these are things that we need to resolve. And one is a thought that you should enjoy prospecting. And this is important, and maybe you've thought this before or felt this, but maybe you haven't. But the reason why I put this out there is that if you find yourself prospecting for leads, cold calling, going to networking, and you're not enjoying it, you might think to yourself, wow, this isn't for me. I chose the wrong profession. I should be enjoying this more than I am, and I'm really unhappy. And I want to resolve that to say that's normal to feel that way. Prospecting is tough. And there's a lot about selling that can be really fun, but the prospecting aspect of it is kind of like, it's kind of like doing the laundry. It's the cleaning, the housekeeping stuff that no one really wants to do, and it's not real fun. So just keep in mind, if you find yourself out there selling and you're just not enjoying that prospecting piece, or you're struggling to get on the phone and do some phone prospecting, that's normal. No one really enjoys that piece of it. Another myth is, and I talk to people all the time, and they believe that salespeople are born. You're either born a salesperson, and if you're born that way, you can be successful. And if you aren't born to be a salesperson, then you might have chosen the wrong profession. And I don't agree with this. I see selling as a skill, and it's something that you can develop regardless of your personality that you're born with. I think that there's salespeople of all different personalities. A lot of people associate being outgoing or gregarious or extreme extrovert as a skill that means you can be a great salesperson. And if you don't have that, the gift of gab, then you won't ever be successful as a salesperson. I think there are some things in that category that might help with selling, but there's also some things when you're in that category of personality that hinder you as a salesperson. Those are kind of the people that tend to be difficult to learn, to teach sales skills to. They just want to talk, and sometimes listening is a more important skill than talking. And without getting into that too much detail, I don't personally believe that salespeople are born. I think if you have a drive and certain professional skills and the ability to learn, you have what it takes to be a great salesperson. The next myth is that a good salesperson will be good at prospecting. So you might have those highs, right, where you close a big deal, you hit your quota, you have a good year, but then it's time to do some prospecting and you get shot down, or you're having trouble getting some meetings, and you might have some self-doubt. Hey, I thought I was a good salesperson. Why can't I do this prospecting? And the thing is that you can be an awesome salesperson and completely stink at prospecting. The reason why is because prospecting is very mechanical. There's certain activities you need to do, there's certain things you need to say, there's certain things you need to ask, there's a certain motion that you need to go through. And you could be an incredible salesperson, and if you don't know those key steps, or you don't do them enough to where you get rusty, you might not be great at prospecting. And so that can cause self-doubt. And the reality is that you can learn how to prospect if you're not good at it, and that's a skill you can develop to round out being truly a great salesperson. I hire a lot of people that have no experience, and they're not great salespeople because they have no experience, and they become awesome prospectors because they use a certain methodology. So it goes both ways. A great salesperson could be a bad prospector, and a person awesome at prospecting might not be a great salesperson. So just if you're ever struggling to generate leads and you're in a role where you're not hitting your targets because of not prospecting effectively, that doesn't mean that you can't be an awesome salesperson. And some of the reasons why prospecting is so difficult is that the environment that we operate in, now this is the environment that we operate in, right? Prospects are busy. If we're trying to sell to decision makers are busy. They're in meetings all day. They're hard to get on the phone. There's a tremendous amount of competition trying to get to the people that we're trying to sell to. There's not only direct competitors often selling what we're selling, but there's also companies that have nothing to do with what we do trying to sell to the same people. There's also internal competition, like competition from internal resources. If you're trying to sell to a decision maker, not only are you trying to get a meeting with them, but you also have internal managers that are trying to get meetings with the people you're trying to sell to. So it's very competitive. And because of that, prospects don't answer their phone. It's hard to get prospects. It's hard to just get your foot in the door. Prospects often put difficult gatekeepers in the way to block you out. Once you do fight through all that and you finally get someone on the phone, they don't answer the phone in a buying mode, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm so glad you called me. I was wanting someone to call me to sell me this." So they answer the phone. Once you do get a hold of people, they can have their guard at a medium level, if not more, and be a bit defensive and not be completely easy to try to do what you need to do. So I put that out there to let you know that this is the external environment. And you can experience some of these things that I just outlined, and those can cause lows on you. You can be frustrated. You can get shot down by a difficult gatekeeper, and that can make you feel really bad. But the thing that you need to remember is that this is the environment that everybody is participating in. Your competition is dealing with all these same things. So if this is not something that you're struggling with, it's something that everybody's struggling with. So that's just important to keep in mind. And that's important to keep in mind because there's this internal environment that is going on in our head. And the feelings that you might experience are you might be feeling a little sales reluctance, call reluctance. It might be time to make some phone prospecting calls, and it's the last thing you want to do. That's completely normal. That's not just you. That doesn't mean that you're a bad employee, a bad salesperson, that you're doing a bad job because you really dread making calls. It's normal. Sales reluctance is normal. The fear of rejection, the fear of not knowing what's going to happen if someone answers the call that you're making, and having a little bit of anxiety there is completely normal. Some of these things might cause a lack of confidence, a feeling like there's nothing you can do. You're making calls and nobody's answering the phone, and there's nothing you can do. You might feel like there's nothing you can do, and everything's out of your control. You might not know what to do. Your employer gives you a sales target and a territory and a bag of products, and you just don't know what to do in order to hit your targets. That can cause some anxiety internally. You might not believe in the product that you sell. You might feel like being a salesperson is an annoying thing, and you're just an annoying person out there bugging people, and you don't really believe in what you're doing. You might have a lack of motivation. So these are things that you might be experiencing. And so what we're going to talk about here today is how to resolve most of this, if not all of it. But remember, we're still in this first step of decreasing self-doubt. That feeling like you can't do this, you're not the right person, or you're not going to be successful. And this is the first step we need to take, which is just realizing that you have what it takes. I mean, if you're on this webinar, if you got hired by the company you work for, I'm almost 100% confident you have what it takes to be successful. There are some cases where someone might not have what it takes. Like, let's look at an extreme. Let's say someone is a complete introvert and they can't look someone in the eye when they talk to them, and they get sick to their stomach when they have to have a conversation with a stranger. Okay, that person might not have what it takes to be successful, right? I mean, the extreme introvert. And they would probably never pursue a career in sales. So most likely that's not you. But if you're a little introverted, if you have some anxiety, if you have, some frustration, don't worry about it. You have what it takes to be the perfect fit in the job that you're trying to do. You just have to do the right stuff and do enough of it and have the right head on your shoulders. And that's what we're talking about here today is having the right head and the right mentality. So that's step one. That's the baseline. If you kind of can work through that and remove any self-doubt and concern, then we can build on that. And so the next step that we're going to take to build on that is we need to become super prepared. If you think of a quarterback, and I apologize for the sports metaphors, but they fit well. And if you hate sports or don't know much about them, I apologize. But if you think of the game of football and a quarterback and a head coach and a football team, they'll have a playbook. They just don't go out there in the game and throw the ball around. They have plays. Everybody's practiced the plays. Everybody knows what the plays are, and they run those plays. Not only do they prepare their own playbook and know their own playbook, they'll also assess the opposition and make decisions based on what they anticipate the opposition doing. So in converting that to a sales world, if you can anticipate what objections your prospects might say, that's similar to a football team anticipating what defense the team that they're playing might run. And if they anticipate the defense, they know the defensive schemes, then they can be better prepared and know either what play to run or how to alter in real time to get around that defense. So the key here is to try to get yourself to operate like a prepared quarterback, a prepared football team, a prepared athlete. And what that's going to allow you to do is not only is it going to allow you to perform better, but again, the topic here today is building mental strength, right? So the more prepared you are, the more mentally strong you're going to be. And so another metaphor, maybe you can relate to this, is think if you've ever think about a time when you were in school, and it could be any level of school, and try to think of a time where you took a test where you were completely unprepared. Maybe there's some people listening to this that have been completely prepared for every test, but and then try to think of a time when you took a test where you studied and you knew the information inside and out. And if you have either of those experiences or one or the other, the key with this exercise is that when you take an exam, when you don't know the information, you have a lot of anxiety. And if you take an exam where you know the information inside and out, it's it actually can be kind of fun. You look forward to the test, and you look forward to getting your test results. And hopefully some people can relate to that. But so the key thing there is that when we're prospecting and if we're unprepared, we're going to operate with a higher level of anxiety. It's like taking a test and we don't know the answers. And we want to be prepared. We want to look forward to those different situations, and we want to operate at a really high level. And so, how to prep? I mean, it's no big surprise if you know anything about Sales Scripter. You can prep by creating call scripts. If you're doing some phone prospecting, and there's a lot of people are sort of anti-script, and I appreciate that. That's a big objection that we receive as a company, is that people say scripts are bad. And even knowing the word script is in our company name, we're kind of anti-script too, right? We believe in being prepared, not necessarily being scripted. And we help people to be prepared by having key questions to ask and key points to make when you're making calls, and having that as a guide and not necessarily reading from it. But you could either work on building call scripts for yourself, even meeting scripts. But even if that word kind of makes you feel uncomfortable, at least have a call guide, a call plan, a list of key questions that you should be asking people when you're doing your prospecting. And so if you don't know what questions you should be asking, that's a key step, and you could look at some of our other webinars to get some ideas there. Objection responses. You heard me mention an objection is sort of the defense that the opposition, being your prospect, will run. These are things that they'll say to you to shut you down and to get rid of you. And so if you do nothing else in the prep area, if you only do one thing, I might recommend prepare for some objections. Think about the objections that you're going to run into, and for a lot of us, they're exactly the same. I'm not interested. We already used somebody. We don't have budget right now. But for each of us, there are unique objections. Like for me, we don't use scripts. Call scripts is one that we face, and that's unique to us. So make a list of the objections that you face and prepare responses that you could say that improve your chances of getting around those, and know those like the back of your hand. And so that's a great way to be prepared and to improve. By the way, that will greatly, again, getting back to the topic here today of improving mental strength. So if think about not being prepared for objections, and you're going to face objections. So if you try to deal with those and by improvising, and if you improvise, it's most likely you're going to get shot down by objections. That is very uncomfortable. Those could be some of those lows that I mentioned, and it's not fun. You're getting shot down, you're getting rejected, and it doesn't feel good, right? So being prepared for objections, not only is it a great way to improve your results right away, but it's a great way for you to improve your mental strength. And also think about your level of confidence when a prospect throws an objection at you, and you diffuse it and keep the conversation going. That's where you kind of get into that exam, being prepared for an exam and not being prepared metaphor, in that when you start having fun taking that exam and answering those questions, and it feels good, and you can't wait to get the test results. That's the feeling you start getting when you're prepared for objections, and you just diffuse them and keep moving. You start looking like a seasoned quarterback. Anyway, so there's some other things here that you can do to prepare: voicemail scripts, role play, practicing ahead of time. Once we're prepared, now we need to begin to take a shift in your mindset. So start looking at things differently, and we'll kind of go through this together. But the first thing is creating value awareness. Now, value awareness value is what your products or services help your clients to do or to achieve. So it's not your value that you offer is not what your product does. That's kind of the functional details of your product. The value is what that functional functionality helps them to improve on their side, right? So uh, this is something that it can be very easy for salespeople to lose sight of, either to not really fully be aware, knowledgeable about the value that their products offer, because a lot of us salespeople can just talk about the functionality, the features, but becoming so being identifying the value that your products offer is kind of step one here, right? So just being, I guess, identifying the core value is again step one. But then the key thing here is to not lose sight of that. So having that kind of at the front of your mind, and so this can help you from a mental standpoint when you are fully aware, which means I sell this and it helps with this, and never really losing sight of that and just operating every day when you talk to people with the value that you offer at the front of your mind. That begins to create a stronger mental attitude because, just moving on to this next slide here, because what that will help you to do is it will help you to begin to see yourself as a helper. That you are reaching out to prospects to help them, and that's such a real powerful shift in attitude, in mindset, in approach, in that when you're trying to sell products, features, and services, you're a taker. You have something to sell. You want them to buy. If they buy, you're going to hit your quota. You're going to make money. You want to take, right? But if you see yourself and have the value that you offer, the value awareness in the front of your mind, and then you're leading with that, well, if your product helps somebody with something, then you can operate with the mindset of you're not looking for the people that you can sell to, you're looking for the people, the prospects that need your help. And it's safe to say that not everybody needs your help, right? A doctor, let's say an eye doctor helps people to see better, right? And they do that by providing eye exams and contacts and corrective lenses. But the value that they offer is they help people that have trouble seeing to see better. What a powerful thing. We take that for granted in our world that we live in today, but put yourself like in medieval times where someone needs corrective lenses and there weren't any, right? And put an eye doctor in that type of world, and that they're able to put something on this person's face or in their eyes that makes them see like a normal person. What value is that, right? So that doctor, and you can really see any doctor as a helper. They're helping someone to see. And so not everybody needs corrective lenses because a big portion of the population has good eyesight. So that doctor, if they were prospecting, they're looking for the people that need their help. They're not out there saying, who can I sell contacts and glasses to? They're looking for who needs my help. And that can greatly, if you really never lose sight of that and you operate every day, again, getting to what we're trying to achieve here today, that can build mental strength. Another thing that you can do to build mental strength is to eliminate the weak language that you might be saying every day. And I'm just flabbergasted by how many people use weak language, and it's just very negative, it's not even salesy language. It's very, let's say the word needy. It's a very needy language. So saying stuff like, I know you're busy right now. I'm sorry for the interruption. I will only take a few minutes of your time. Did I catch you at a bad time? I'm sorry to bother you. We could go on, but that's very weak language. And a helper, and I apologize, maybe I shouldn't use the word helper because of my last name, but a helper does not use that kind of language. An eye doctor who can change someone's life by making them see better does not worry about the person being too busy for them or being an interruption. So if you start to view yourself as helping and having a lot of value to offer, you need to stop using language like this. And So like, and the you can easily alter what you're trying to say here and do it in a better light. Like for example, to say, "Did I catch you at a bad time?" I'm a an advocate for confirming if someone's available, like over the phone, or even if I'm meeting with them in person. And I'll add, but instead of saying, "Did I catch you at a bad time?" change that to say, "Did I catch you in the middle of anything?" So a bad time is negative. Catch you in the middle of anything, it's there's nothing negative about that. It's confirming, are you in the middle of something that you need to stay focused on? And if so, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't mean I'm being weak or I'm not worthy of your time. It just means I need to contact you at another time. But so that's better than saying bad time or am I bothering you or whatever. So just try to avoid that weak language, because what that can do is it does a couple things. One is it subcommunicates something very weak to your prospect. So that can have a huge impact on how you're received. But it can also be having an impact on how you see yourself. That you see yourself as a taker and not someone coming from a very strong place. Now, something that can help to kind of maintain that value awareness, to establish this level of confidence and clarity, is to use sales affirmations. And the word affirmation kind of it gets tossed around. Maybe sometimes is used well, and sometimes it's not used well. So uh, you the way I see affirmations are is that it's we need to be reminded every day of things we're doing well and things that are great about us, and that can help to diffuse that self-doubt and help us to operate with strong mental strength. And so an affirmation is basically a statement that reaffirms or affirms something good on your side. So now affirmations, to make them good is they should be somewhat real and realistic, right? If you say, if let's say you're struggling to hit your quota, and if you create an affirmation that says, "I'm the best salesperson in my company," well, that's not true. So we need to create these positive statements that are somewhat realistic and true so that we can believe them. We need to be reminded about what we're doing well and what's strong about us. And so you can create affirmations about the products you sell. So if you think about that eye doctor changing lives, um, that is a very valuable product. And or even think of like a LASIK surgeon, right? That helps someone to never have to wear corrective lenses again. That's life changing. So you can think about affirmations about the product. For example, so our LASIK surgery changes people's lives. That's an affirmation about the product that you sell. So if you were, and I know LASIK surgery isn't sold this way, but if you were prospecting for LASIK surgery, it would be important for you every day to keep in mind that what you're trying to sell changes people's lives. So you can think of affirmations about the products you sell. You could think about affirmations about the company. You know, maybe there's some really great things about your company that are worth never forgetting. You could make some affirmations about you as a person, that you have all sorts of years of experience, or they're just some you're a great listener, or you have a ton of integrity. So make this list of affirmations, and what that will allow you to do is these can help you to kind of maintain that value awareness, see yourself as a helper, see yourself as a very strong person. And in order for these to work, you should write them down, or print them, type them out and print them out, put them on a wall in your office, and read them every day. And that will provide a lot of clarity for you moving forward. If you work for a company, you may have some sort of quota probably do. But whether you work for a company or not, or have a quota already in place, set some personal targets for yourself. There could be the case where you have an annual sales quota that you have to kind of report on, quarterly or monthly or whatnot. What you can do is set some personal targets, maybe a daily quota, a weekly quota, monthly, and whatnot. And these don't have to just be. And so a lot of the quotas are around sales revenue. And what you could do is you could break your personal targets down to where they're more about the things that lead to sales revenue, right? So I'm a big believer when I work with my salespeople. I don't really focus on the end result, which is sales, hope or meetings or leads. I focus on what are the steps that are going to lead to the results that I want. So and that could be activity, uh, going to events, meetings. It's those dealing with objections, doing the right things lead to the end result. So you could set some personal targets for yourself for some of the smaller stuff. A good example of this is setting a quota. If you can use networking as a lead generation vehicle, and set a quota for yourself. I'm going to go to 2 networking events a week. And if you set that quota, then you're going to be more likely to consistently go to 2 events a week. If you just say to yourself, networking would be really good and I should do more networking. If you do that versus saying I'm going to go to 2 networking events a week, and you track that, which do you think you're going to be more consistent, more successful with, and push yourself more? So your target should be realistic. If it's not realistic for you, because of your family obligations and whatnot, if 2 networking events a week is not really realistic, don't set that as a target. You know, Make a target that is realistic so that you have a chance to hit it, and it's okay for it to be somewhat of a stretch. And similar to your affirmations, write these down, print them out, put them on a wall, and read them daily. We're still on this third step of changing, like shifting our mindset, right? So we shifted to more of a value mindset than a selling products. We're shifting more towards a helper than a taker. The other thing is that we can shift more from a mindset of picking fruit to one of planting seeds. Uh, Most salespeople, they're out there looking, where am I going to get that deal? And it's understandable because you have pressure to sell, you have sales targets, you have a quota, and you have a bag of products, right? So you're out there, you're looking for what trees have fruit on them, and the fruit that you can pull off and pick and harvest. Now, the reality is that while it's great to pick a piece of fruit when you see it on a tree, that fruit has to come from somewhere. And so if you're more focused on planting seeds that lead to the trees, that lead to the fruit down the road, and then while you're doing that, grabbing the fruit that you see, that can be a good shift in mindset. Not only is that a good lead generation process, because again, you're planting seeds, and that could bear more fruit in the long term, but it's really important from a mental aspect. We were just talking about going to networking events. From a mental aspect, now going to a networking event is planting seeds, and because you're making connections, you're building relationships. You should not go to a networking event trying to sell your products. Depending on what you sell, maybe you're in a situation where you should, but for all intents and purposes, networking should be planting seeds. And so if you go to a networking event and you walk out of there with 0 leads, 0 products sold, then you're going to be frustrated. You're going to experience one of those lows. You're going to feel like, man, I just wasted $50 and 2 hours of my time. But the reality is that that's a mindset thing. If you're in the mindset of planting seeds, you might walk out of there achieving the same thing, but realizing, you know what, that was a good conversation with that one person, and they could be a referral source, and I'm going to try to have a meeting with them. I know that they're not someone who's ever going to buy from me, but I'm going to try to have coffee with them, and that might go somewhere. And I planted some seeds. When you plant seeds, you don't know which ones sprout. You just plant them, water them, and down the road, stuff starts to sprout. So this is an important lead generation piece of logic, but it's also important from a mental standpoint. And that's pretty much it from what we're gonna some of the key things that we're gonna do to try to build this mental strength. But we need to do some other stuff to reinforce that and to stay mentally strong on an ongoing basis. So one thing I would suggest to you is to compartmentalize your time. Not only are there a lot of highs and lows with selling, there's also a lot of chaos. There you can have a big quota, a big territory, and a lot of different things that you need to do in order to be successful. And if you aren't organized, this can be overwhelming. So not only are you losing a deal here, you're getting shot down, but you also have all this anxiety about all the different things that you need to do. It's like being a salesperson is like managing your own business, building your own business. So what I would suggest, and this is a recommendation that I tell entrepreneurs, is to compartmentalize your time and think of the different categories of tasks that you need to do. And depending on the type of sales job that you have, it could be different things, but maybe you have to do a certain amount of phone prospecting. Maybe you have to do a certain amount of networking. Maybe there's some administrative stuff that you need to do, such as the TPS reports, and don't forget to put the memo on the TPS reports. But think about the different things that you need to do, and then what I would suggest is compartmentalize your week or your day to where you're focusing on those different things. Like being a salesperson, I would when I worked for a company, I always accrued a lot of receipts and expenses, and that can be something that just extremely distracting and time consuming. Well, Monday mornings is the very first thing, which is a time when I wouldn't want to do like phone prospecting. I would do sort of the accounting work. I would get my expenses together and submit any expense reports. I would do training, research. I would do that kind of stuff on Monday morning. And then when that's done, I wouldn't do that the rest of the week. So now once you've compartmentalized and you're focusing on one category of items, you're not worried about everything else. So you want to decrease your multitasking during this time. A good example of this is if we're doing phone prospecting. If we're doing phone prospecting, let's shut down everything else. Close down email or social media or whatever, and just do the phone prospecting. So that can help you to be more clear, more productive from a productivity standpoint. I'm a big advocate for establishing a daily routine. I'm not going to tell you what your routine should be, but whatever time you start your day at that time every day. Don't start some days early and some days later. Get some sort of consistency. If there's some sort of steps that you do in the morning that you think are productive or good for you or whatever, do the same steps in the same order. So establish some sort of daily routine. This is good from a mental standpoint because you're going to establish this consistency and clarity around what you need to be doing, right? Let's just say you work from home and you get up and start your day at a different time every day. Not to say whether it's early or late, it's just different. If you change that to waking up at the exact same time every day, you establish this clarity for this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and that reduces a little bit of the anxiety around I don't know what I really need to be doing right now to be successful. Track your progress. So there's all these different things that we should do. We talked about setting some mini goals for ourselves. Let's track our progress of on how we're doing against what we should be doing. So if we have a goal of making 50 outbound dials per day, well, it's important to know how did we do yesterday? How are we doing today? How did we do last week? So track track your progress against your goals and your targets. You could either use a spreadsheet, tally marks, piece of paper. If you see this image here on the slide, this is actually something that I've thought about purchasing. I haven't yet, but I do some calls for my business and some follow-ups, and it's easy to get to find other stuff to do that gets in the way, and it's what I call being productively unproductive. So I might, have a list of people that I need to follow up with, and I'll start working on writing a blog post, which is something also I need to do, but it's not what I need to be doing in that moment. Anyways, but if you have one of these counters here, which is you basically click it and the number on the dial shows you how many you've done. They use these a lot at sporting events or restaurants, but I was thought about having one of these on my desk, and every time I make my outbound call, I click it. And what a great visual, what a great reinforcement of your activity. You actually feel a click in your hand, and you see that number change from 9 to 10. Wow, you got into the double digits, and it's a good feeling. You're accomplishing something. What I'm also a big advocate for, I mean, you have a target. It's all about working and staying focused and being productive, right? But you can't just have the gas pedal on all day, every day. I mean, again, we're talking about mental strength here, right? That's definitely not good for mental strength. I mean, that's good for getting burnt out or starting to become counterproductive. So I'm a big advocate for incorporating different stuff into the day that that helps you. So it's non-work activity, but it helps you to increase productivity. So some examples are meditation, yoga, reading. Reading, I wouldn't say like reading like in the middle of your day reading like a fiction novel, but if you can read a book that helps you to progress in your profession. So it might be a book on selling, it might be a book on your industry, it might be a book related to the products that you sell. But I'm really a big advocate for stopping the sales activity for 20 minutes and doing some reading, whatever that amount is. But bear in mind, when you're not doing the reading, you're extremely productive. If you're semi-productive all day, then I would not encourage adding one of these activities. These activities are to basically help you to be powering extremely productive, but then you stop and you take a break, and you might meditate or work out, exercise, take a walk outside. So you're just adding this break, and then when you come back, you're getting back to being operating at a highly optimum productive level. So this is important to do. And the reason why these help with productivity is that if you work a full day and you add something like this in the middle of the day, this allows you to be productive at the other times. So anyways, just to bring all of that together, if you look at this pyramid, starting at the bottom, we began with step 1, which was reducing your self-doubt. So when you have those lows, we want to eliminate any feeling like, I just can't do this, or I'm not the right person for this, or I don't think I'm going to be successful. We want to squeeze all that out of there. And we basically want to baseline you and put you even with the people you're competing with, regardless of your experience, regardless of your personality, regardless of any other thing. If you can be successful at what you're trying to do. Now, that's not to say that you don't need to do some work or make some changes, but at the most basic level, you can do it. So once we have that, once we've minimized that self-doubt, on top of that, we can begin to build. And if the thing is that if there's self-doubt, we have nothing to build on, right? If you have all these scripts, but you're just you don't have that, but you have a ton of self-doubt, then you're not going to be making the calls. You're not going to be confident when you're going through the motions. But so we have you at somewhat of a confident level. Then we're going to build by making you prepared. And once we have you with sort of your playbook in place, then we're going to help you to shift your mindset. So get a more clear, more positive, coming a mindset where you're coming at it everything from the right angle. I'm a helper. I'm not trying to sell. I have a lot of value to offer. I'm trying to find the people that need the help I have to offer. So then we're really moving in the right direction. But then we need to maintain that. And it is a chaotic world that we live in. There's a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of demands on us. So we're going to organize our day and our week and our progress and everything in a certain way that we're able to continue with that positive mindset and be optimally productive. So that's pretty much it. Just want to wrap up with some announcements and information about Sales Scripter and what we're doing. We are actually launching. It's pretty exciting. I'm kind of really looking forward to this. I do sales coaching for a lot of people, and there's a big group of people that just can't afford it. They definitely would appreciate the help and need it, but from a budget standpoint, it's a bit challenging. So I'm actually in the process of launching a sales coaching group, and we'll do multiple of these, but we're just actually organizing our first one to start in January. But this group will meet for 1 hour every week, and the group size will kind of be around 10 people. We may go above 10 because anticipating sometimes people are absent when we meet, but the optimum amount of people on the call will be 10. And what we'll do is we'll go around and everybody will have the opportunity to ask a question or bring a discussion point. And so we'll go through a number of different topics. The topics will be driven by the group of attendees. It'll be about, I said it'll be an hour. We'll go beyond an hour until everybody gets to discuss something. But it's basically, from a cost standpoint, it's basically $100 a month. And so, some months have 5 weeks or 4 weeks, but depending on how many weeks are in a month, you're looking at only between $20 to $25 per session. And so it's, I'm pretty much saying this as a no-brainer, because if you go back to the logic with looking for a nugget, I'm extremely confident that you'll get a nugget on each meeting, and that will definitely return its $25 in value. And even if you don't come to a session with your question, you're going to be able to hear some of the dialogue from other sales professionals or business owners on that same call. So something you might not have thought about, you'll gain value from. And so we're starting our first group in January. Shoot us an email if you want to get in on that. And if you're new to Sales Scripter, a little bit more about us. We are basically what we do. One half of what we do is a sales methodology. So we have tactics and logic and processes and all these different categories: cold calling, objections, dealing with gatekeepers, cold emailing, qualifying. And so at the core, we provide basically a full sales prospecting methodology. It's a consultative selling approach. A lot of the tactics are counterintuitive. So instead of turning you into a pushy salesperson, we actually turn you more into someone who's communicating effectively and building really great relationships. The other half of what we offer is a software application. So our methodology can actually be delivered to either yourself or the people that work for you through a software-based solution that actually provides scripts and questions to ask, objection responses, email templates, voicemail scripts. The way that we interface with most of our customers is that a lot of them use our methodology, and they can access our methodology through our books, videos, live training, coaching, sales consulting. And we work directly with salespeople, but we also work with managers and help them to train their salespeople. Now, a lot of our methodology is actually provided for free. You can get it through our ebooks or our YouTube channel. The reason why we provide all that for free is our hope is if you really align and push, if you really utilize our methodology, you might want to check out our software application because it's completely aligned with our methodology. And we do have some salespeople, again, that use our software for themselves. But the way we offer the most value is when sales managers set up our software and use it as a way to train all of their salespeople. So that's kind of what we do. If you want more help from us, I would encourage you to check out some of our ebooks. They're on our website for free, and so you can sign up for those. And we also have a book that you can purchase. It's on Amazon. It's called The Cold Calling Equation. The benefit to buying the book instead of the ebooks is that the book is a physical book. You could get the Kindle version, but I like the book because it's something you can put on your desk or you can put on your employee's desk, and it's organized in a way that you can flip to the key thing that you need help with. So there's a chapter on gatekeepers, there's a chapter on objections, there's a chapter on value, there's a chapter on having a strong mental strength. So what we're talking about here today, there's a chapter in the book on this. So the book makes it real easy to flip to what you need. I have a lot of ebooks that I download, and I end up never really knowing where they are on my computer. So that's something you might worry about with downloading some of our free ebooks. Our training program is actually on YouTube for free, and so it's organized in this way. It's structured to be something you can roll out to either yourself or to your salespeople over a 4-week period. There's logic that's been put into the order of all these modules and how it's spread out. Check out SalesScripter if you reach that point. Basically, like I said, it's an application. The software interviews you to kind of identify what do you sell, how does it help. Again, this software will help you to get to that value awareness standpoint, help you figure out what problems you fix, what key questions you should ask. And then once you basically enter some of your information into SalesScripter, it'll produce call scripts, voicemail scripts, email templates, objection responses. All this is created automatically just by basically answering a questionnaire about your products. We also do provide an interactive script, which basically displays everything right there when you're on the phone, what you need to say next, and big buttons, and makes it easy to get to the key information that you need at that particular moment. If you want more help, step one, go to our YouTube channel. There are tons of videos on sales tips. All of our webinars are on there, and this webinar will be put on there. Subscribe so that you can be notified when we upload new videos. Step 3, you could check out SalesScripter. That's only $49 a month, $29 if you get an annual subscription. The way I kind of see SalesScripter is if we help you to just improve one conversation, improve one conversation by either getting around an objection or asking a few more questions that you wouldn't have asked otherwise, you just paid for your monthly subscription, because those conversations and interactions are so valuable. And if you want some help from us at a personal level, we offer sales coaching, consulting, and training. Here's my direct contact info if you want any more help. If you want to sign up for that